I believe we have recording in progress. Welcome to our conversation with Dr. Heather Strachan. Heather has been known to me for many years, and it is such an honour to link with her today and take her through the honorary members' questions. So Heather, I'm looking forward to chatting with you, and I hope that that works out for you as well. So welcome. Heather, I have 6 sort of questions, and they may or may not end up as being 6 questions, but at least we'll give them a go. I'd like to start, because you're a very well-known person in the UK, highly regarded. Can you give us some idea of the journey that you've been on in your long-standing career in informatics?
Yes, I certainly can. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Paula, and it's lovely to speak to you as well. So I started my informatics journey in the late 1980s. I was working as a practice development nurse in Westminster Hospital in London, and we did a lot of things to do with that related to documentation of nursing care and the quality of nursing care. And I was given the opportunity to pilot a new nurse care planning system. And I have to say, it wasn't really a hugely successful pilot, but we did learn an awful lot about the sorts of things we could do with computerized nurse care planning. And I was just so excited about the possibilities of computers in healthcare. So I was offered an opportunity to work in the same hospital in the Department of Computing to develop nursing and other systems. I moved into such things as looking at developing nurse scheduling systems for rostering, duty rostering, student allocation systems, and of course, more care planning systems and workload. So that's where I began. All began in the late 1980s.
But that's quite an array of areas to look at. Fairly clinically cited, I feel, more so than education, but there's a research contingent within that, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. There had been information systems in development for the previous 20 years, but it was very much research and evaluating and exploring. It was really still quite new, and it was very clinical. But there were also some administrative systems in there, but not. I wasn't particularly involved in educational systems
at that time. No, I understand, and I think it was a clinical lead that nursing was looking for at that time, rather than a technology lead. And I think you certainly fulfilled that bill and led at the forefront for many of us following along. Do you think there are any particular people that you looked to at that time, in those very early days, that you would say have helped you, have mentored you, or just shone a light of the way forward for you?
Many people. I should probably add that sort of after the project management post in London, I moved into another post with the Scottish Government, and then I met many interesting people there too. But I suppose going back to the project management post, my first post, I was really supported by lots of people I met in the British Computer Society Nursing Special Interest Group. And I felt very much the need to share the work that I had been doing. So colleagues in the British Computer Society, such as Graham Wright, such as I'm just thinking, I've written a little note here, such as Denise Barnett and Maureen Scholes. They supported me, so I felt the need to give back and support other people, other new people. So I joined the British Computer Society Nursing Specialist Group. And as part of that role, I was given the opportunity to become a representative for the UK on the International Medical Informatics Association Nursing Interest Specialist Group. And so that, I suppose that opened up my world a bit from people, meeting people in the UK who had influenced and supported me, to meeting many international colleagues, such as Ulla Gerdin, Marion Talberg and Susan Grobe, I think in the early days. They were again really, really supportive of sharing knowledge and helping me to develop. And I then went to work in the Scottish Government as a clinical lead for the National eHealth Programme. And there I met some more inspirational people, such as Derek Hoy, the late Derek Hoy, a very dear colleague of ours, and people like Alan Hislop, but also more multidisciplinary people. So that was really exciting. And I think those are the people who've helped me through my career, but I know many, many more now, and too many to mention, I think.
I think that's a good enough. But sadly, you froze a moment after you mentioned Graham Wright. Who was the person you were going to mention after him, just so that we have it on record?
Well, Denise Barnett and Maureen Scholes.
Thank you. That's most helpful. And yes, I recognise those people as well in the UK. I mean, you've influenced a lot of people as well through your own work, through your research, and through your general demeanour in the world of informatics. And certainly when you're talking there about going from a single trust, a single hospital, through to a national post, through to an international membership, there's something there that has guided you through that. And I wonder whether it is the concept of networking, which obviously is information dependent, but whether there was something else there that you wanted to drive forward and allow others to follow you.
I think I felt quite passionate about the possibilities that information, and obviously the information could have for healthcare in terms of quality, and obviously the tools, the computer tools that were required to process that information. So I was really passionate about the possibilities, but I also recognised that I didn't know everything. There was lots to learn, and by networking with colleagues, I was able to learn through that, but also I was able to support other people to learn as their journeys developed. So through being supported by other people, I wanted to do the same. So you're absolutely right. Networking was hugely important. I think, I found publishing the work that I had been doing, and sometimes publishing even things that were less successful. And I think you made a comment about, obviously I've been inspired, and I've hopefully inspired others. And I think I remember at one of the international conferences that I attended, somebody actually came up to me and said, I was introduced to them, and they said, I've read your work. It's been really useful. And I thought, great, absolutely great. So somebody's read it and it was useful. And so I feel it is really important to do that, to publish what you do. And when I was part of the Scottish Government National eHealth Programme, I developed a network of leads across Scotland. So I had a representative from every health board, a nurse representative from every health board across Scotland. And we used to meet regularly, and we used to share our projects. We used to share some of the challenges, and we used to, I suppose, develop each other and network that way. And when I left there, I got a lovely email from someone who said that they had really enjoyed being part of the network. So again, I think it's about that support and that networking to share what you've learned.
Thank you. I think that's one of the things, Heather, that's always shone through for me about you, is that you're very open and available to people to ask questions and to answer them very well and in language that they understand. And to me, it's this concept that you've overcome some of the challenges that you faced throughout your career. But were there any specific challenges that you would like to mention that you faced and you overcame that you think might be helpful for others to hear about?
I can think of many. I suppose the first challenge for me was getting clinicians involved. I really felt that we had, in the early days, were very heavily dependent on the technology. And I was really, really keen to get clinicians involved in all aspects of health informatics, because I think there was a tendency for us to automate current processes. And as we often didn't have that clinical information necessarily being utilised in the way that to the full possibilities, it was really important that it was the clinicians who understood the information they needed, how it was collected, how it was analysed, and how it was used for decision making, and how it was shared. So I think that was the first challenge, really. And I think we are nowadays, it's very recognised, the importance of that clinical leadership. I think the other challenge, I suppose, was more of a personal one. And it was, as you can imagine, starting to develop nursing informatics in the late 80s was quite some years ago. And I think we had a vision then, and I'm still not sure we've really got there yet. I think we're definitely closer, but we still have a long way to go. So I think it was keeping motivated to really keep going over a kind of 30-year period. So yeah, that is a personal challenge, was how to keep motivated in your career when it's something you feel very passionate about. So I suppose what I did was I always kept a thread of supporting nursing informatics and digital transformation and data-driven innovation throughout my career, whatever I did, whatever job I did. So in between my project management role and my role in the Scottish Government, I was a manager for a while. And I would always try and actually develop health informatics in that role. And then after my Scottish Government role, I went to work at Stirling University and to do a PhD. And again, I kept my research interests in data-driven innovation. And I'm now back more in the mainstream, currently working, developing a module to be delivered at the University of Edinburgh to teach other leaders in health boards about leadership in digital transformation. So it's kind of, it's exciting now for me because I've been able to take all that I've learned in my whole journey over the last 30 years to share with others, to say, well, what would have been useful for me to learn, to know when I began my journey, and how can I share that? So keeping motivated is a challenge, but I've always found new ways of doing it, really, I suppose. But keeping that thread and that vision in mind and keeping going, really.
And you've certainly done that, there's no doubt about it. I think you're quite right. It's finding a focus and understanding that focus may meander throughout a career, although keeping the central feature. So what would you say was, I mean, you've given some points already, but Can you think of the most rewarding moment? Lovely that you got that feedback from people who've read your papers and have worked with you. But was there something in your inner self that you feel in this post, in your work with informatics in nursing, was the most rewarding moment?
I actually think it's the people I've met. I have just met some amazing, lovely people that have started out as colleagues and became friends. And I think it is always the people that make any aspect of your life rewarding. I suppose I've been lucky enough to be able to do something that I'm passionate about as well. So so those are probably the two most rewarding.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would have to agree with you on those. And giving a view to the future, you're still heavily involved in all of this area, and we're very grateful for that. But have you any words of wisdom for the next generation who are coming into informatics, or whatever we wish, digital nursing, or whatever it's going to be called in the future? From your experience, is there something that you could advise the next generation?
I think there are three important things here, and I've probably mentioned them through this conversation. But to me, it's the importance of being a leader in the future, and you can be a leader at any level. And to be a leader, I think there's three things that people need to do. One is to ensure that they themselves keep developing. There's always more to learn, there's always more to reflect on, and there's always more that you can do to develop, and many different ways to do it. I think it's also, the second thing is really the importance of developing in a sense, your team. Now, that might be your team that you work with. It might be a team of peers that you know through various forums in your role. So I think working as a member of a team is really important. And then I think finally networking, to use your networks, to develop your networks, to both share what you're doing and gain information on what other people are doing, so that you can think outside the box, really, so that you can keep imagining new ways of doing things, keep finding new experiences and putting that into practice as well, and thinking of doing things innovatively and differently, I suppose. So yeah, so it'd be developing yourself, developing your team, and developing your network, and to become a leader in your field, and be passionate about it.
Well, you certainly fit all those criteria, I can assure you, from my perspective. And the UK is very fortunate to have you with us as a founding member of informatics in nursing. But thank you very much, Heather, for this conversation. It's been a joy for me to talk with you and to hear your thoughts and ideas, and I'm sure be very useful to everybody who listens to it. So thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you. It's always lovely to talk to you, Paula. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.